Hello and welcome to Walking the Earth podcast, where we explore the travel lifestyle. You can find us online at WTEpodcast.com. Please do subscribe to us wherever you're listening, whether it's iTunes, SoundCloud, or Stitcher. And if you want to find us on social media, we're also on Facebook and we're on Twitter at WTE Podcast. I'm Mike Margulies. I'm in Baltimore, Maryland today. And today we've got two guests, Daniel Lawson in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and Kishan Patel in Burlington, Vermont. Daniel, Kishan, what's up, guys?
Hey, how you doing?
What's going on?
Good. And so the two of you guys, I'll let you kind of share the story in your own words, but you two traveled a bit together on a little backpacking adventure through Southeast Asia for a few months. And I know Daniel, kind of you said Kishan was the guy who kind of gave you the kick out the door you needed. I'd love to let you guys share a little bit about that experience, traveling together and everything leading up to it and since then as well.
Cool.
Yeah, definitely.
You want me to start us off,
So
Kishan, or you got it? All right.
yeah, go for it, Daniel.
So that trip we were talking about, that we most recently did through Asia, I think for me it seemed like something that was years in the making. As you said, my traveling for me was always something that was a little bit difficult to do. I'm just the kind of guy who was, born in a particular place, just grew up there, stuck around, didn't really feel like moving around, and I liked the idea of traveling, but it was just something that was hard for me to execute and hard to put together. And Kishan and I met in college actually, and became really good friends. And he was someone who was always really good at planning trips. First around the area where we went to school, and then more all around the country. And this particular trip to Asia was this kind of thing that he brought up one year. I think it was just probably the end of a really long night, and he says, like, you know what, how about this? Let's go on a trip somewhere for a couple months. We'll go plan it out, get out there, and just disappear for a while. And in that moment, I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. And we threw out some ideas, like, where do you want to go? You want to go to Africa? You want to go to Asia? You want to go to South America? You want to go to India? All these things sounded great.
Yeah.
But of course, I'm just nodding, like, sure, whatever. We'll put this together. And over time, he would always check back in on it, like, all right, this is getting a little more solid. Now I've got some plans. What do you think of this? And I think something that really helped me out with that is that Kishan is a master planner, something that I'm not really great at. And he would send me these full-on PowerPoints that had maps in them and says, we'll go here. Week 2, we're here. Week 3, we're there. And then, my heart starts pumping a little faster because I'm thinking, like, oh man, this is real now. Like, we're really going to do this. And then eventually, there was an actual countdown where he's saying, like, these are the dates, settle it with your work, and settle it with family, girlfriend, friends, whatever kind of things you've got going on. These are the dates. And it was a really big step for me, but I think his planning really made it a reality. And that's kind of my perspective on this particular trip.
Awesome. Yeah. So Kishan, I guess, was you wanted to do this. You had like a dream of doing this this fantasy of traveling, backpacking around. But I guess maybe you just needed that friend to kind of lend the support of, like, hey, to make it real for you. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, sort of just to go along with what Daniel said, it works out really well with us because he is incredibly flexible. He's more of a go with the flow kind of guy, and I maybe his PowerPoint and the map thing might lead you guys in the wrong direction. It's not. We have what we do is we have like a very general skeleton of a trip.
That's what I figured.
But yeah, everything else is completely, we'll figure it out when we get there. And there's a lot of, like, while we're traveling, there is a lot of time spent at the end of the day on a computer trying to, like, should we go here next? Should we go there next? Do we, maybe need to, like, book something because it's a holiday, or something of that nature. So, but it was incredibly flexible, and I think we just gelled really well together.
Yeah.
And we started, like he mentioned, we started traveling in college. We did a lot of hiking trips with other friends, and then we went. I think, like, I pretty much exclusively only traveled with Daniel. So if Daniel had a girlfriend, I went with him and his girlfriend. We've like I've basically traveled with Daniel until very recently, until I've moved away. So even after we graduated, which was in '09, he would come up all the time to New York where I lived, and we would just take off. We would go places. So we basically got along as travelers really well, and I think that goes back a little bit to he let he sort of let me take control, which is probably my personality, which works with his, sort of go with the flow kind of personality. And, I'd say like very initially in the start, we may have had a few creases to work over. There are things that like I've learned about Daniel over time. That maybe I grew as a person because of it. So he's a little bit more of a spend money only when absolutely necessary, travel on a damn budget, like don't eat stupid shit, don't spend money on like, ridiculous amounts of food so there were like all these little things that, we may have in the start sort of like figured out about each other. And then there were some like beautiful moments, there were times when, like I know how much Daniel loves ice cream, and then Daniel knows how much I like chocolate. Like this is just sounds really stupid, but like I think like learning all these little things about each other. So I'm like, all right, well I'm gonna try. You sort of play this little game because you're in each other's faces all the time. Right. And I'm like, well, Daniel, I kind of want to go to this nicer hostel because I'm pretty fucking exhausted right now. But I know Daniel doesn't want to spend like the extra $5 that it takes to go there. So I'll be like, Daniel, let's go get some ice cream and make you happy a little bit, and then I'll like throw it in or something. So all these little things, sort of just like a kid. I guess I treated him like a child. I'm sorry, dude. Fuck about your ice cream to make you happy. But anyways,
it worked.
Yeah, so it worked. Yeah. So that worked out really well. So personalities gelled, and at least on the last trip, we had like no problems. We were traveling 4 months together. It was the best time of my life. It was just amazing.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's definitely a lot of time like to spend.
Yeah.
As when you're backpacking around like that, it's not the same as say like living next to someone. Is you're actually spending like all of your time with the person. Oh, yeah. So when you're backpacking with someone for 3 or 4 months, you're like with each other. Almost all the. I mean, maybe you guys went off on your own adventures. I would do that. Sometimes when I would travel with people.
So, I thought we would go off more on our own adventures. We talked about it originally, and we had just looked up testimonials and tried to get advice from other travelers, who said that when they were in similar situations as us, like a really healthy thing to do is pick a part of the trip where you'll separate a little bit, and come back later so you can get your own space and not kind of cause that friction between each other. And we talked about this idea a little bit, and I myself probably said to Kishan, like, oh yeah, that's fine, we'll do that. We'll find a time where like maybe you'll go off and do your thing, I'll go do this, and we'll meet in this next town, and it'll be fine. But inside I was like, oh my god, that sounds terrible. There's 10 million different things that could go wrong.
Separation anxiety.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's that, but it's also like the very technical things that you don't think about till you're there. Like, oh, wait a minute. If one of us, when you're over here, if we were to go visit, say, LA or Detroit or somewhere, within the States, and we're like, we're going to go explore, do our own thing. I'll see you in a couple days. At any given time, we'd be able to just call each other and say, this is where I am. This is what's going on. Here's the plans. But, over there, I couldn't just pick up, the phone and give them a ring and say like, we're gonna meet over here. Just hop on the subway and we'll catch up. It'd be like if anything goes wrong, like we might not. There's some places where if you miss a bus, that's it for the day. You've got to wait till another day to catch that bus, or if you get stranded in particular places and you don't have enough cash on you, then you're in some trouble. Then you've got to troubleshoot. So I was like, oh please, I hope he doesn't go with this idea. Let's just keep it together. And we're buying each other ice cream right now. It's a good relationship. Got a good thing going on.
Daniel, it never came to that, man. We didn't even talk. Like we didn't think about it. It just things worked out. It was fun. We just had a blast.
Yeah, that's awesome. If you got if that happens a lot of the time, is because maybe someone wants one adventure, someone wants a different one, so you might do that. Like I've done that kind of thing before. But if it didn't happen, that's also cool because that means I guess you guys just were having a good time and hanging out. Yeah. So it's also
the thing is Yeah, I mean, like we definitely had a constant amount of, where he had an opinion of what he wanted to do, because that we just have a ton of options in general
Right.
when you're traveling. One thing that you have to make a lot of decisions, and doing traveling together can be great, but solo travelers swear by solo traveling primarily because they can do whatever they want. So we did constantly have to make decisions, and just like, this is gonna sound so stupid and cliche, just like any relationship, we had to make
Yeah. Well,
sacrifices.
it
There were
is.
things that he did that I didn't want to do, or we did that he wanted to do. So that, yeah, totally.
Yeah, yeah.
We just got good at doing that,
You
basically.
got good at compromising, I guess, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, 'cause-
Like a well married couple.
I mean,
Right.
but it always, I think it always ended up working out. Was the other thing, or maybe it was just our perspectives, or our kind of a glass half full sort of mentality. But
Yeah.
even in the times where I thought like, oh, this isn't what I wanted to do, as soon as it started, it was like, oh, never mind, great, perfect day.
Yeah.
Couldn't have
Yeah.
gone any other way.
Yep. And that's the kind of a general attitude you kind of find traveling, right? Because all this unexpected stuff can happen all the time, and then it ends up
Yeah.
always working out somehow.
Totally.
Kind of a microcosm of life, almost, right? Like,
Yeah, I think we had like the major ideas, sort of pretty together. We travel fast. We both knew that. We don't spend a shitload of money. We knew that, and we really like to be out and just sort of do stuff. Like, I think there were maybe 2 or 3 moments on that trip where we were like, all right, we kind of need to just like relax today. And it was
Right.
if that was the case, it was mostly because either like we were hurting from like a hike, or
Right.
or we like really needed bug spray or some shit. So,
I think on
yeah.
some of those days too, we both didn't want to be the one to wuss out on doing another adventure, so we'd kind of be hanging around the hostel or the hotel in the morning, like, oh man, what's the weather looking like? Are we able to go
Right.
out on this boat and do this today? And we're like, I don't know. And we'd kind of go back and forth, like, well, if you're gonna get ready, I'm getting ready. So you getting ready or what? And then just one of us would say like, maybe today's not a good day,
Right.
to go out.
Do you
Maybe we
really
should
just-
just stay in. And they'd then be like, oh, that's fine if that's what you want to do. But inside, you're thinking like, oh, thank God. Thank
Right.
God he wants to rest as well right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's totally cool though too. I mean, I guess there's this idea sometimes that if you're traveling, you need to be like using every single moment to be doing a thing. But I think there's also something to say for the downtime as well. If you're traveling for months on end, then some days you just want to chill, and that's totally cool
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it sounds though like you guys got onto a pretty good just roll together. You kind of figured each other out, and you were able to, obviously there's different things. You have different tendencies or whatever, but sounds like you guys gelled pretty well and figured out compromise when needed or whatever, and had a good time. Traveling abouts for months together. That's cool because it's very different than for me. I was in the solo traveling kind of end of it, and so I was sort of just like, which yeah, for sure I would trade nothing for that experience. But I think in a very different way, the travel with somebody is also a really cool kind of experience that probably will have at some point in the future as well. I think it's really cool, and it sounds like you guys really made it work well.
Yeah, it does bring like numerous advantages as well. I found traveling as a pair, because we run into a lot of people who are traveling solo, and Kishan, maybe you can help me remember some of these things, but a lot of them were even around, financially, being two people is helpful in so many situations. It makes it so that, like Kishan said, I went into this, save every penny kind of mentality of like, all right, we're just going to get the dingiest, nastiest kind of hostel that you can find, cheap and nasty, as they say over there.
That's I tend to be like that too. I go for the cheapest way.
Yeah, so
I'm a little bit more of a kind of need a place to. I just like a clean bathroom. That's all. I don't know. That's one thing.
Right.
hard to come by in some of the parts we went
Hard
to.
to come by some of the places. Yeah.
And but and I didn't want to be just dropping money to do that until I realized there were so many places we went to where it's like you can pay for 2 beds and they'll cost this much, or you can get your own private room. And when we combined for 2 of us, it ended up just being $1 or 2 more. And I was like, wow, thank God we're there's 2 of us. Now this makes sense. Let's just get this room that is slightly nicer, or affords us just more space.
Yeah.
And just security. We don't have to worry about our stuff. And so there were things, financially like that. If you are someone who likes to do these kind of adventure tours or like physical like really physical activities like we do, anytime there's two people coming to sign up for anything, it's going to give you a discount on something, and just basic elements of teamwork, like whether it's being out on a hike or trying to find your way around. We were always there to kind of back each other up, or we'd figure out our roles in the within the team, like who's going to carry this, who's responsible for this.
Yeah.
Kishan, any of the other things that stood out for you in terms of
traveling together? No, I think you solidly covered it. Yeah, I was just basically going to say what you just said is the hiking part kind of comes in. It comes really in handy when you're going to go out, into the wilderness, either with a guide, which is always kind of like a tricky thing with traveling abroad. Is you sort of, in order to get out to the mountains, get out on trails, most often than not, like you need some sort of local knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we were clearly, it's like our style is clearly not to stay in one place and like really take in the culture, or like actually meet people. We're more like there for the mountains and for the hikes and for the trails.
Yeah.
So with that boom boom go, we did need a lot of help, and then so having a guide is fine, but like actually having one other person to hike with you for so long.
Yeah, have a partner in crime.
Yeah, totally. That was fun. That was totally something that I enjoyed sharing with him.
Yeah, and you guys spent a lot of your time in Indonesia, you were saying, yeah?
Yeah.
Yes.
Was that so? Were you doing a lot of hiking and that kind of thing in Indonesia?
Did a little bit of everything, I think.
All right.
In fact, like we did a lot of, and I'd say our weeks generally revolved around, Saturday is going to be a huge hike, so we'll do a bunch of little adventures or visit some towns, do some cultural things leading up to that, do the big hike, have a day, and we would plan out almost like a workout routine. Like these are our recovery days. So on these days, after doing this, this hike, going up and down this mountain, and I guess it was Mount Kinabalu that we went up and down in a day. And some people choose to do 2 days, but we're like, nope, we're moving. We're on a time budget here. Gotta go. And we would, we'd plan out the 2 days after that. We know this will be a travel day. That's just going to take us this long to get to a new place. We'll get there, go visit this, this like local spot that everyone wants to check out, or walk down this road where there's supposed to be a couple of things to check out. And after we're done recovering, we'll get back into it and do something else physical. But outside of hiking, we did a lot of I don't know, for lack of a better term, like water play. We spent a lot of time, especially in Indonesia, just in the water. Everywhere you go is a more beautiful place to, whether you're into diving or even just snorkeling. And I didn't have a dive certification. I feel bad for holding Kishan back on that one, but there was just some beautiful general snorkeling and swimming around. And
snorkeling. That's what we did. Rather than water play, I think we actually just snorkeled a ton.
Yeah,
because it was cheap to do. And we
all you need is a mask and a snorkel.
Oh,
you want those
for
like a buck or something, probably.
Oh my god, it was absolutely gorgeous. I'm sort of scrolling through some of our pictures. It was beautiful. And then like I think to add to what Daniel said is like we sort of just played it by where we were. In Bali, we didn't really spend that much time hiking. We sort of visited a few temples and stuff, and then the rest of the time we did either we snorkeled a ton, or at one point we got on this boat for 4 days. It was a sketchy ass boat, and it was just like the waves were off the hook.
Well, first it was called a cruise, and when I heard when Kishan said, "Do you want to go on like a 4-day cruise?" In my head, I thought of like
not
the
cruise,
the Disney World cruise,
right?
That you go to when you're like 8 years old with your family. Like, oh, a cruise? That's okay, whatever. That's not what I'm here for. But then it was just this little kind of junky boat that bounced up and down in the waves.
It was an adventure, though, yeah?
Oh, man, it was amazing, yeah. So they would just, like, throw us off, wherever, like, these little gorgeous islands, and we would snorkel for a bit. And there were other tourists on there. It was just, like, one of those things we signed on to. That was fun. And then, the idea was to go see the Komodo dragons, so we saw those at the Komodo National Park. And then so we sort of just juggled that and... went on hikes. So if if there were day hikes, then we just went on our own. Otherwise, we just sort of joined people and like went on, like a 4-day hike up like some volcano or something, where we kind of needed help with gear and other stuff. So yeah, general gist of like a lot of our trip is basically just find what to do, what's the coolest thing to do there, and sort of do it. And that was
the nature. The homestay was also a great.
Oh yeah,
that was in Malaysia.
Yeah, and I guess we're talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so I'd love to hear about your homestay. So you stayed at a homestay in Malaysia?
Yeah, it was in the Borneo portion of Malaysia.
Okay.
We stayed at this, I guess, pretty well known homestay of this guy named Osman, who. I don't know. He was just a master of his craft. His job was just to host tourists, and then take them on tours of just the land that's still, the last bit of preserved land around where he lives. This is just full of wildlife, like a huge amount of biodiversity, and we just got to see, everything from like primates to different birds.
Yeah,
just some of the biggest. Most terrifying looking crocodiles, that I had seen.
So it's kind of sad. I'm sort of blanking on the name too of that region, but it is in the south portion of Borneo. But basically, I guess I don't know if it's Malaysia or they in that area. They're moving towards palm oil plantation. So like they just wipe out all these natural forests and plant palm everywhere. So the only natural forest that remains now is sort of concentrated by this river, which is where he sort of lived on the river. Yeah, he took us around with his boat, and all the animals are congregated there, like pygmy elephants. We saw some pygmy elephants. We saw orangutans. We saw crocs. We saw like all the rhesus monkey. Like these are
just like wild.
Absolutely wild.
Awesome.
Yeah, totally. It was just amazing. And sweet. I highly recommend this place, Michael. If you ever get out to Malaysia, it's just absolutely incredible. And this dude, like Daniel said, he was a character, man.
He was a character.
He was so
he was like Malaysian Steve Irwin. He would just get us right in there.
He had a picture with that dude from the who does the show, David Attenborough.
Yeah.
Okay. He had a picture with him. Apparently, he'd like come over and had him like help him out with something. That was cool. And he was a little bit of an asshole. He would go. He had his boat, and he would see an animal somewhere. Like he was incredible at spotting these things. Like he would spot a monitor lizard, which is a solid like 3 or 4 foot up on a branch, and he would like just pull under the branch, and the branch is like maybe 6 feet above you. And he's like, look up. And then you go look up, and there's just like a freaking 2 foot monitor lizard that could jump on the boat at any time. And he was
just like a snake sleeping on. There was like a snake sleeping on a branch, and he's like, "You want to take a look at it?" We're like, "Yeah." And we start taking pictures, and he would just to mess with us would like turn on the motor and drive us right up. So all of a sudden, this branch hanging with this poisonous snake is right in your face. And he's like, "Nah, don't worry, he's sleeping." And we're like, "Oh, he's not dangerous." He's like, "Oh no, he's dangerous. He's just sleeping right now."
And then there was since this was a river, like I guess the government had built like these little rubber they made like sort of like a rope that they tied from one end of the forest to the other, so the orangutans could cross over. Yeah, that's what he told us. But he said he never really saw the orangutans use it, but the rhesus monkeys would use them all the time. And now we were in this river. It's sort of muddy. You can't see anything, but we knew it was infested with crocs. Like we saw them pop up all the time. And so he sees one of these rhesus monkeys cross the wire, and he just gets super excited, like blasts out towards him, like with his motorboat, just rattling everything. So the monkey freaks out and falls.
Yeah, I would.
And this monkey falls like right into the river. And
suspenseful moment. Everyone holds their breath like.
So I think this sort of like become a little touristy at this point, where there were a couple of other tourists. There were like these older German ladies in like another boat. So they were just like peacefully watching the monkey do his thing. And he disturbs the whole flow. The monkey falls in the water, and And
Ugh.
and these two guys, like our dude and then the guy in the other boat, they're like they basically they're freaking out. They're like cheering the monkey on, like get out of the water, get out of the water. They're like getting all this excited, and that German lady had like sheer fear and fright on her face. It was absolutely hilarious. The monkey makes it. Croc doesn't
Okay,
get it.
We
yeah, I'm
made it,
glad
but
the
we all
monkey
had our
was okay.
cameras out because it's
Yeah,
like
we-
if there was ever a chance to see some Nat Geo, nature taking its course kind of thing with a monkey swimming
with
through
the
a
assist
crocodile.
from a motorboat.
Yeah.
Exactly. It was like, this is it. Everyone's like, this really would suck for the monkey, but my camera's ready, got it zoomed in, got the setting on there.
Yeah, kind of made me sort of doubt how like much of how much trouble we were causing by being there, but
Possible, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think about that quite a bit. Just the impact of traveling into these places.
Right. Yeah, I mean, certainly it has an impact, and yeah. It is something. I don't know the answers though.
No. It's something like where like I really want to go there, and I'm glad I'm here, but I don't want anybody else to go there. 'Cause
Right. Yeah, that's the common thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, so we all like, you say if you're I scuba dive also, so it's like you're scuba diving, and there's, obviously you're loving it, you're enjoying it, but I do think that just by being there, you are kind of disturbing things in a way. I mean, you're supposed to be responsible and stuff, but certainly there are just having people there is disturbing things. So I don't know what the answer is to that, what the right balance is.
Yeah. I mean, I think the Gili Islands also was a huge kind of example of that. It's a little series of 3 islands in Indonesia that we went to, and it is just party time. A lot of tourists go there. There's a lot of stuff to do. That's where we did a lot of our kind of snorkeling and got some good time on the beach. And it's there's a lot of really good pristine water areas and land around there, but the more that tourists come, I'm thinking like, to what degree is this sustainable? That right now it's, amazing for this local economy, but after a while, just as more kind of, trash builds up or pollution builds up, what is that? How long does it take for this place to become like a
Cancun or a Jamaica?
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
Instead of
That's what I
going,
was thinking.
out to that way, like if you're on the beach or you're by the touristy areas, that there's no local. I mean, we're walking down the streets blasting, Hotel California at any given time. They love that song in Indonesia for some reason.
That's great.
and Red Hot Chili Peppers, they love that shit.
Everyone loves the Chili Peppers.
It's very true. It's very
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's always that going on though, right? Where there'll be a place that's like the new place, like, oh, we hear about this place, it's awesome, and it hasn't been totally developed yet, and people start going there, and then over time, when the word gets around about this place, it's awesome. It becomes built up, and I guess there's always going to be though, where whatever state of the world's in, there's going to be places that are super developed and super touristy. There's always the transition places, and there will always be places that are, if you really want it, you can find, whatever experience you want, find a more local people as well. So I guess it just you find whatever you're looking for, I suppose, and what those places are is changing with time.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of went to, so we ended up making our way to West Papua, which is on the island of Papua New Guinea. It's the same island, but Indonesia controls half of it, and that is still pretty wild. Like a lot of Indonesians have made it there, but not a lot of tourists. It's pretty expensive to get there, and once you get there, the infrastructure isn't there yet. So we had to like time the exact boat going to that one particular island. It was magnificent. Everything was untouched. Super expensive because the gas was incredibly pricey there because of some sort of like monopoly at the state level there. But either way, it was just absolutely gorgeous. And soon once some sort of infrastructure develops, that place is going to blow up. And if you want to dive, you want to go there at this time. Like it's just the amount of lionfish we saw. Oh my God, they were just gorgeous. Swimming in this area with a ton of those jellyfish that sort of light up on their own. I forget what they're called, but they were, it was just some
bioluminescent or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just magnificent, beautiful creatures everywhere,
awesome.
and yeah. These were the Raja Ampat Islands, and they were just absolutely gorgeous.
I mean, it's kind of ruined snorkeling for the rest of my life now. Like, I went
You're
snorkeling.
spoiled.
Yeah, on
Now
the
you
way
can't-
home, I went to Hawaii to visit some. On the way back to the States to visit some family, and went snorkeling there because I was like, as long as I'm here, let's do it.
Yeah.
And it was just, I'm sure it's, it is definitely, still a very beautiful place, Hawaii, but it was like after seeing the sheer, like untouched, like many of those fish were like, what is that, like machine coming over us? I'd just never seen a boat in their lives. And then going there, I was like, ah, I just, I can't snorkel anymore. Raja Ampat just ruined it. It was
Well, you can find. I guess you
amazing.
can always find remote places. They're out
Yeah,
there.
yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, that's really awesome though. I mean, it sounds like you guys had some really awesome experiences together, and places, different types of places you saw, and the nature and everything. It sounds like you had a really great experience in the whole thing. Um,
sure.
I mean, so going forward, then, like for each of you guys, what's something that each of you would like to do in your life, like anything at all, travel or not,
Huh.
you know, b- before it's all done?
Oh, man. I guess all right. So I guess I'll start because my my dreams are probably a lot more mundane. Kishan gets to travel quite a bit more than I do. I think you know I'm incredibly grateful that Kishan helped kick me out the door, and get me actually moving around and got me to go on that trip. And I think it's important for me to not think of that as some sort of like, oh, I did this long trip once, and for it to be something that I just agree and accept that I'm gonna do again,
Yeah.
in the future. And
Why stop?
yeah, exactly. There's still plenty of places to visit, and I think one of the biggest barriers for me before leaving was just being stuck in a routine of like, this is my job, and I can't just walk away from this job, and I kind of felt caged by that. And I think
Mhm.
now looking forward, no matter what I do, whether it's like working or where I live, that if it's something I truly enjoy doing, it just needs to be incorporated into my plan from day one. And
Mm.
that like I need to construct my life in a way that I'm going to be able to do that when I want to. So um,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. There's plenty of places I'd love to see. South America, Africa. Um, I'd still like to find an excuse to go with Kishan to India, but it's
That'll
really
happen,
hard
man.
since he's like,
I would take him up on that if you can, if it's on the table.
That'll definitely happen.
yeah, but yeah,
Um, yeah, I do what Daniel was basically talking about. I think I've had the travel bug ever since I was little. I went to a boarding school in India, and
Mm.
since fifth grade in
Eh,
India, sorry.
and you lived in India till you were like 15 years old, right?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I grew up there in a boarding school too, so it's
Okay.
sort of interesting. But so in fifth grade, we were allowed to, like our parents could pay a little bit of money, and then on the vacations, instead of going home, you can just go on a trip, usually somewhere around India. And at
Ah.
that age, I was like the only kid in my class who went with all the older kids. Um, it was awesome. I mean, I had a great time, made friends that were like in grades above me, stuff like that. So I think I caught the bug really early,
Right.
and everything I mean, when we were in college, I think we sort of like got steered into the more collegey way of life. But ever since, like I think we found a balance now. But everything I do since everything I've done since then, like I've had it in the back of my mind that I want to travel. So even going
Mm.
like deciding to go into medicine, which is you think how I'm gonna do that, but I've thought about it quite a bit. As there are many places that you can sort of take your services to. It's a
Yeah.
field that is in demand in
People
many
always need medical
places.
help.
Absolutely. So I mean, I have some ideas, and we talk to a lot of doctors come in to talk to us who've been traveling, and so there are a lot of cool opportunities. And also like I'm looking forward to just getting on rotations in my fourth year and sort of going abroad,
Awesome.
doing a couple in weird places. We ran into some people in Malaysia doing that. So these are all the opportunities that I'm looking forward to.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah,
go
so it
to.
sounds like for both of you guys, you're just trying to find ways, to keep travel as part of your lifestyle
Yeah,
going
most
forward.
definitely.
For
Like
sure,
fit it
for
around
sure.
whatever I have going on.
Yeah, and I think that's really cool. I think Daniel, what you're saying too. It's like we can sometimes, and I've previously to doing the trip that I took,
Mhm.
it was I felt trapped in a sense too. With the job or whatever. That's easy. I think a lot of people, particular Americans, feel this way. We view our lives as kind of like oh, I have this many vacation days, 2 weeks per year, whatever, and we constrain ourselves to these things. And for sure, for me, it was something I kind of learned is like, oh wait, I can actually construct a life around what I like to do. So, yeah, definitely, I think that's really cool, and I think you guys make a good point. Like, if you want to make it part of your life, then there's ways to make it happen. So,
oh yeah, there's definitely ways to make it happen.
yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Really cool, guys. Well, it's been really awesome getting a chance to chat with you and hear the perspective of a couple of guys traveling together. Like, it's a really cool experience, a very different experience than I had, and also cool experience to be with a companion and around. So and it's really cool facets of it you guys brought out. But yeah, I really appreciate it. And for those who are listening at home, if you want to hear more from Walking the Earth podcast, we are on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Stitcher, where you can subscribe, and you can find us on the social media at facebook.com/Walking the Earth podcast, or on Twitter at WTE podcast. But all this stuff can be found at WTEpodcast.com. And so again, Kish and Daniel, really appreciate having you guys coming on the show. It's been a sweet conversation. And
our pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah. Folks listening at home, hope you enjoyed this one, and we will catch you next time. Namaste.